Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are, it is right now. You are right here. My name is Manuel, and it's my pleasure to welcome you. Today is day 6 of the show, and I have to congratulate you for making the best decision of the day to spend some time with me. Let's get started. Let me give you today's persuasion lesson starring Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Tim Walz has accomplished something truly bipartisan. He has united the country against himself. Now, that's not easy. That takes talent. Usually, you have to work very hard to make both the protesters and the cops angry at the same time. But Governor Walz, never one to be deterred, found the sweet spot, the Goldilocks zone of incompetence, where everyone agrees you acted too late and said too much. You see, in finally calling out the Minnesota National Guard, Tim Walz chose to use the tried and always failed strategy of closing the barn door after the horses have left the stable. And nobody, I mean absolutely nobody, is happy about that. Except maybe comedy writers with a dark sense of humor. Calling the guard after people are dead is like installing smoke detectors during the fire. If you're anti-ICE, you're furious because the National Guard wasn't called out early enough to protect civilians from the feds. If you're pro-ICE, you're furious because the Guard wasn't called out early enough to protect federal law enforcement and keep order. So the left thinks he failed to stop tyranny, and the right thinks he failed to stop anarchy. Walz, in his ever amazing abilities, somehow threaded that needle straight into his own foot, which is really impressive because his foot was already in his mouth and his head up his rear end. Same complaint, different vibe. That's how you know this isn't ideological. It's incompetence. This is what happens when your governing philosophy is, let's see how Twitter feels about it first. Here's the core problem. Walz governed on narrative instead of timing. And timing is the message. When you delay action in the middle of escalating unrest, people don't read that as restraint. They read it as fear. When you finally act after blood is already on the pavement, they don't read that as leadership. They read it as panic. This wasn't leadership. This was the political version of, I was hoping it would resolve itself. Yeah, that never happens, Governor. This is what happens when you talk like a resistance fighter, but govern like a risk-averse HR manager. Big talk up front, small action until everyone's hair is on fire. And brother, you ain't recharged the fire extinguishers since Joe Biden had a full head of hair. Once people see that pattern, they stop believing institutions will protect them. Some believe they have no choice but to actively resist the state. Others believe they have to defend the state themselves. But both are reacting to the same vacuum of leadership. The same incompetence that is Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. The governor didn't calm anything. He confirmed everyone's worst suspicions, late enough to look guilty, early enough to look performative. And that is the real danger. When people stop believing process works, they start believing improvisation is justified. And we're not talking about improvisation as in jokes. We're talking as in IEDs. Boom. That's when things get really ugly. It's not because people are evil. It's because leadership failed its only real job, getting ahead of reality. So yes, everyone hates Tim Walz. Not because they agree on politics, but because they agree on incompetence. And while everyone hates Tim Walz might make for a good sitcom, it makes for really ugly reality. Not so much drama, but moving now into horror. Remember, if you talk like a fighter but act like a bystander, eventually both sides notice that you're not one or the other. And once that happens, the only thing you're governing is the comment section. And you better hope that your delete button still works, because you're probably going to need it. Okay. We're keeping it to the point and brief today. That's today's persuasion lesson. If you delay authority while talking moral superiority, you don't look virtuous, you look irrelevant, because you are. We'll continue tomorrow, and as always, be useful.